Hi, I'm Paul from the Studio Rats. Today we're looking at this. This is my current pedal board. Now, I always get asked in videos what I'm using for specific tones. Now, when I'm doing the majority of videos that I shoot, I'm actually using this pedal board. So what I thought I'd do in today's video is just to go over the current state of my pedal board. Now, probably like everyone else, you buy a new pedal and then you pull off a pedal on your board and put that pedal on for a while, and your pedal board is constantly evolving. Now, I should just say the pedal that is quite transient on my pedal board is always the Overdrive pedal. I tend to swap between 3 different Overdrives. Either it's the Duellist, or I've got a Riverside, which is a Strymon pedal, or I've got a Palisades, which is a Earthquaker Devices Overdrive pedal. Now, recently I tried the CKK SHXC, I think it's called, pedal, and I'm thinking about putting that on here. But just for today, I thought I'd show you the current state of the pedal board and how I get those sort of sounds. The heart of the pedal board is my tonex pedal, and the sound that I'm using for basically all of my videos is a capture that I did of my Matchless Independence 35. And if you've got a tonex pedal, all the tonex software, you can download that from ToneNet. So if I switch off everything apart from tonex on here, now what I'm using is the Boss ES5. Now, what this is, it's a MIDI switcher, and you've basically got 5 different loops that you can connect different pedals to, and you can switch those pedals in and out by these buttons here and have different presets. And you can also change the order of the pedals internally inside the ES5, but I've done a whole video on that and I've explained that before. So tonex sounds like this. So as I said, that is a capture of my Matchless Independence 35, which is my favourite amp that I've ever tried. And to be honest, it hardly ever changes off of that patch. If it does, I've got a couple of divided by 13 CJ11 patches, which I sometimes go to, but most of the tones that I get come from that Matchless patch, and then I just add drives in front of it. Now, without doubt, my favourite reverb pedal that I've ever tried is this Universal Audio DelVerb, and I've done a video on this before. I'll put a link up there somewhere so you guys can go and see that video if you so wish. And that sounds like this. Now, I don't normally have the reverb on that high, so normally the reverb's about there, so it sounds like this. Now, the reason why I love this is, one, because it's got a model of Lexicon 224, which I'm using for the reverb, and the other reason is the delay. Now, it uses the precision delay that you can get for the Universal Audio software. Now, I've got Universal Audio Apollo system, and they're the 2 plugins that I've used, and I've used them for donkey's years, to be honest, ever since those 2 plugins came out. So those 2 settings are permanently on my board, so as opposed to using them in plugin form, I can actually take this pedal board out and use it for gigs or for any recordings that I'll be doing elsewhere. So depending on what sort of sound that I'm using, I can control the reverb level and the delay level from the front panel. Now, as everyone wishes with Universal Audio pedals, you wish that they were MIDI, but unfortunately they're not. I'd love it if they had like a bunch of different presets, or you could store different presets, so you could choose different presets for different sorts of sounds, but you can't do that with Universal Audio pedals. One of the great things about the Boss ES5 is that it has a tuner out, so it's completely out the signal chain. You can plug in a tuner, so that can be on permanently, and you can have it to either mute, so you don't get any tone coming from the ES5 and you can still tune while you're on stage, or you can have it on permanently, and as I said, it's not affected inside the signal chain. Now, I'm going a bit back to front, and just to go back a little bit, my outputs are actually coming out of the DelVerb because the ES5 only has a mono out, and I want to have the stereo effects that are inside the DelVerb. Right, now let's go back to the beginning. Pedal number 1, I've got the Universal Max. Now, the Universal Max is an awesome sounding pedal. It's basically a bunch of different compressors and the 610 preamp. Now, I use 2 different settings on this, where I use it as a preamp and a compressor. and they basically just increase in gain and compression. So compressor number 1. Now that's a model of an LA2A valve compressor, and I'm adding quite a bit of preamp gain to it. So that's driving into the front of the tonex pedal, and the great thing about the tonex pedal is that it does take gain going in the front of it. So you can turn up your level and it sort of reacts like an amplifier. I mean, obviously you can push it too far and it won't like it, but you can sort of give it a little bit of extra boost and it just sort of gives it more of an amp character. Now, compressor number 2. Now, compressor number 2 is a bit more of everything. That's an 1176 model with a ton of preamp gain on it. So that's actually driving the front of the tonex quite hard. And it really fattens up the tone, especially on something like a Strat. Now, I can obviously use them together. If I want a really sort of compressed tone, next I've got one of my favourite overdrive pedals, which is the Kingtone Duellist. Now this is basically 2 different pedals. Again, I've done a video on this separately. Basically, you've got a tube screamer style pedal and you've got a blues breaker style pedal. On the string singer setting, you've got a tube screamer. And on the left-hand side, you've got a blues breaker. Now, one of the great combinations for me is the max pedal going into an overdrive, because the max is the first in the chain going into the overdrive. So then I can have various amounts of gain depending on what pedals and what combinations I've got. So if I go back to the tube screamer, so there you've got it compared with the tube screamer. Now I can have both the tube screamer and the blues break together. And then combinations for everything else. Now, depending on what sort of gig that I'm doing, I don't tend to use a lot of modulation pedals. I would like this pedal board just a little bit bigger. This is a Boss BCB 1000, I think it's called. But it would be great if it was just a little bit bigger, so I could put a modulation pedal on just for those times when I would use it, because I've actually got slot 3 on my ES5 available. So I could do with another pedal in there. I could put a pedal actually underneath the pedal board and that would work as well. So I hope that answers a load of questions that I've been asked on previous videos. This is the current rig and it's been like this probably for 3 or 4 months at the moment. Now, as I said, I did do a review of that CKK SHXC pedal. I'll leave a review up here somewhere a couple of weeks ago, and I was really, really impressed with that. So that's going to end up going on here at some point, or maybe I'll use it in conjunction with the Duellist. Anyway, I really hope you guys got something out of this video. If you did get something out of it, don't forget to like and subscribe, click on the bell button, and to be notified of any future video that comes out from the Studio Rat. So I'm Paul, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.